Jake Morrison had been living on the space station for 3 weeks now. The station was called Horizon 1, and it floated in the darkness of space near a beautiful purple nebula. Jake worked as an engineer, fixing machines and keeping the station running smoothly. He shared this duty with 2 other humans, Amy Brooks and Carlos Hayes. Together, they made sure everyone on the station could breathe, drink water, and stay alive in the cold vacuum of space. The station was home to more than 200 beings from 17 different planets. Jake had never imagined he would work with so many alien species. There were tall blue ones with 4 arms, giant furry ones that looked like bears, and small floating creatures that glowed in the dark. Each species was strange and wonderful in its own way. Jake liked his job. He liked solving problems and making things work. He also liked learning about the different aliens who lived on the station. Most of them were friendly, though some kept to themselves. In 3 weeks, Jake had made a few alien friends. He thought everything was going well. The cafeteria was the largest room on the station. It had to be big because it served food to so many different types of beings. Some aliens ate only plants. Others absorbed sunlight through their skin. A few breathed methane gas and ate rocks that contained minerals. The cafeteria had special areas for each type of eater. Most of the cafeteria was filled with salad bars and fruit displays. This was because most aliens in the galaxy ate plants. They had gardens growing fresh vegetables under special lights. They made smoothies from colorful fruits. They baked bread from grains that grew on their home worlds. The smell of fresh vegetables and herbs filled the air during meal times. Jake usually ate in the cafeteria with other humans. But today, Amy and Carlos were working late on a repair job. Jake decided to sit with some alien coworkers instead. He carried his lunchbox to a table where 2 aliens were already eating. One was named Vixeral. She was a centaurian with pale blue skin and 4 delicate arms. She moved gracefully, and her voice made clicking sounds that a small device translated into English. The other alien was Kleenak, a massive Vrelian covered in silvery fur. He was strong and gentle, and his people had once been warriors but now devoted themselves to peace and learning. "Hello, Jake," Vixeral said as he sat down. Her translator made her voice sound pleasant and curious. "How is your work today?" "Good," Jake replied with a smile. "We fixed the air filter in Section 7. It should work better now." "That is excellent," Kleenak rumbled. His deep voice vibrated through the table. "Clean air is important for all of us." They chatted about work for a few minutes. Then Vixeral looked at Jake's lunchbox with interest. "What do humans typically eat?" she asked. "I have been curious about your food," Jake smiled. He was proud of the lunch he had prepared. Amy had helped him make it the night before in the small kitchen they shared. "I will show you," he said. He opened his lunchbox. Inside was grilled chicken breast, perfectly seasoned and still warm. Next to it were several strips of bacon wrapped around fresh asparagus. There was also a small bag of beef jerky for snacking later. The smell of cooked meat rose from the container. The reaction was immediate and terrible. Vixeral's forearms flailed wildly. She pushed her chair back so fast it nearly tipped over. Her pale blue skin turned darker, almost purple. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. Then she made a high-pitched noise that Jake's translator could not interpret. Kleenak stood up so quickly that his chair crashed to the floor. His silver fur stood on end, making him look even bigger. His eyes were wide with shock and something that looked like horror. "That is flesh," he said, his voice shaking. "You eat the bodies of dead creatures." Jake looked down at his lunch, then back at them. His mind raced. What had he done wrong? Why were they so upset? "Yes," he said slowly, confused. "Humans eat meat. We are omnivores. We eat both plants and meat." The word omnivores seemed to make things worse. Within seconds, other aliens noticed the commotion. They came over to see what was happening. When they saw Jake's lunch, they reacted the same way. Some backed away quickly. Others stared in shock. A few made sounds of disgust. One small crystalline being actually fainted, her body making a loud clatter as she hit the floor. The noise in the cafeteria died down. Everyone was looking at Jake now. Hundreds of alien eyes were fixed on him and his lunchbox. Jake felt his face getting hot with embarrassment. He wanted to explain, but he did not know what to say. He had just been eating lunch. "Normal, regular lunch. Someone call Commander Zeftar," a voice said from the crowd. Jake's heart sank. Commander Zeftar was the station director. He was an Altarian, a species known for being strict and fair. Jake had only met him once during orientation. He had seemed nice enough then, but Jake had a feeling this meeting would be different. The commander arrived quickly. He was tall and thin with golden eyes that seemed to see everything. His angular face showed no emotion as he walked through the crowd. Aliens moved aside to let him pass. When he reached Jake's table, he looked down at the lunchbox. For a long moment, he just stared. Then he looked at Jake. "Explain yourself, human," he said. His voice was cold and commanding. Jake swallowed hard. "Sir, I am just eating lunch. This is normal food for humans. We are omnivorous species. We eat both plants and animals." Commander Zeftar pulled out a small device. He tapped it a few times and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed a page from what looked like an encyclopedia. Jake could see the word humans at the top. "The Galactic database lists your species as primarily herbivorous," the commander read. "It states that humans eat mostly plants and sometimes consume small amounts of insect protein. There's no mention of consuming the flesh of larger animals." Jake looked at the entry and felt his stomach drop. The information was wrong. Completely, totally wrong. Someone had made a mistake when they wrote about humans, and now the entire galaxy believed humans only ate plants. "Commander, that information is not correct," Jake said carefully. "I do not know who wrote that, but humans have been eating meat for hundreds of thousands of years. It is a normal part of our diet. It is how we evolved," the crowd murmured. Jake heard words like lies and barbaric and predator being whispered. He felt sick. This was getting worse by the second. Commander Zeftar's golden eyes narrowed. "You will take that food and return to your quarters immediately," he ordered. "You will not consume such materials in public spaces where they may disturb other personnel. I will be contacting Earth's diplomatic representatives to verify your claims and discuss whether humans should continue to serve on multi-species installations." Jake closed his lunchbox with shaking hands. The click of the lid closing seemed loud in the quiet cafeteria. He stood up slowly, feeling the weight of all those stares. As he walked toward the exit, the crowd parted like water, aliens moving away from him as if he carried a disease. Amy and Carlos were waiting in the corridor. They had heard what happened. Their faces showed concern and confusion. "What is going on?" Amy asked. Jake held up his lunchbox. "This is going on," he said quietly. "Apparently the galaxy thinks we are vegetarians, and I just proved them wrong in the worst possible way." They walked back to the human quarters in silence. Jake's mind was spinning. How could this have happened? How could such important information be wrong? And what would happen now? Would humans be banned from space stations? Would he be sent back to Earth in disgrace? All because he wanted to eat a chicken sandwich. Behind them, the cafeteria slowly returned to life. But the mood had changed. Fear and suspicion had replaced the usual friendly atmosphere. And at the center of it all was a simple lunchbox containing food that humans had eaten for thousands of years. When they reached the human quarters, Jake sat down on his bunk and put his head in his hands. Amy sat beside him while Carlos paced back and forth across the small room. "This does not make sense," Carlos said. "We have been in space for decades. How did nobody notice we eat meat?" Amy pulled out her tablet and started searching through files. "Maybe we need to look at the original database entry. There has to be an explanation." Jake looked up. "What if they send us home? What if this ruins everything?" "Let us not panic yet," Amy said, though her voice was not very confident. "We need to understand what happened first. Then we can figure out how to fix it." But deep down, all three of them knew that this was bigger than a simple misunderstanding. The look of horror on those alien faces had been real. The disgust had been genuine. Whatever happened next, things would never be the same on Horizon 1. The human quarters became very busy very quickly. Jake, Amy, and Carlos were soon joined by two more humans from the station. Dr. Lisa Grant was a scientist who studied alien biology. She was smart and calm, even in difficult situations. Commander Peter Walsh led the small human security team. He was a former military officer who took his job seriously. "Tell me exactly what happened," Lisa said, sitting down with her tablet ready to take notes. Jake explained the whole story again, how he opened his lunchbox, how the aliens reacted, how Commander Zeftar had ordered him back to his quarters. When he finished, Lisa was already searching through the Galactic database on her tablet. "I found the entry about humans," she said after a few minutes. "This is bad. Really bad." She turned the tablet so everyone could see. The entry was short and simple. It said humans were peaceful farmers who grew plants for food. It mentioned that humans sometimes ate insects for extra protein. But there was nothing about eating meat from larger animals like chickens, cows, or pigs. When was this written? Peter asked, leaning closer to read the screen. 47 years ago, Amy said, checking the date stamp. Right after first contact with aliens, someone came to Earth, observed humans, and wrote this report. Carlos shook his head in disbelief. How could they get it so wrong? Lisa scrolled down to see more details. Look at this. The person who wrote the report visited an agricultural commune in California. They watched humans farming vegetables and eating salads. They concluded that all humans must eat this way. They met vegetarians, Jake said, understanding dawning on his face. They met a group of vegetarians and assumed all humans were like that. Exactly, Lisa confirmed. And nobody has updated this information in 47 years. The whole galaxy thinks we only eat plants. Peter stood up and walked to the window. Outside stars glittered in the darkness. This is going to cause problems. Big problems. I am already getting messages from Earth. They want to know what is happening. Amy pulled up more information on her own device. It gets worse. I'm reading about the major alien species in the galaxy. Almost all of them are herbivores. They only eat plants. The few carnivorous species that exist are considered primitive or dangerous. They are not allowed on stations like this one. So by eating meat, we are breaking some kind of rule? Jake asked. Not a rule exactly, Lisa said slowly. More like an expectation. The galaxy believes that civilized species do not eat meat. They think that intelligent beings should evolve beyond hunting and killing animals for food. Carlos sat down heavily. But humans did not evolve that way. We have been eating meat since the beginning. It helped our brains grow larger. It gave us the energy to build civilizations. I know that, Lisa said. And you know that. But the aliens do not know that. To them, we just revealed ourselves as predators, as killers, as uncivilized beings who consume dead flesh. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Jake felt guilty. He had just been eating lunch. He had not meant to cause trouble. But now the entire human presence in space might be at risk. What do we do? He asked quietly. We prepare, Peter said, turning from the window. Commander Zeftar said he would contact Earth's diplomatic representatives. There will probably be some kind of hearing or investigation. We need to gather facts. We need to be ready to explain ourselves. Lisa nodded. We need to show them that eating meat does not make us dangerous. We need to prove that humans can be trusted even if we have different dietary needs. A chime sounded at the door. Everyone tensed. Peter opened it carefully. Standing in the corridor was Kleenak, the big Vrelian who had been at the table when Jake opened his lunchbox. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. May I come in? Kleenak asked. Peter stepped aside and the massive alien ducked through the doorway. His silver fur nearly brushed the ceiling. He looked around at all the humans, then focused on Jake. I want to apologize, Kleenak said. His deep voice was soft, almost gentle. My reaction was wrong. I was shocked, and I did not think before I acted. That was unfair to you. Jake stood up. You do not need to apologize. I understand I shocked everyone. No, I do need to apologize, Kleenak insisted. After I left the cafeteria, I went to the library. I spent hours reading about human biology and history. I learned things I did not know. Things that the database did not tell me. He moved closer, his large form filling the small room. My people, the Vrelians, were once predators. Long ago, we hunted and killed other creatures for food. We were violent and aggressive. 10,000 years ago, our leaders decided this was wrong. They said we could not become civilized while we still ate meat. What did you do? Amy asked. We changed ourselves, Kleenak explained. We used genetic engineering to alter our bodies. We removed the desire to eat meat. We made ourselves into herbivores. It was painful and took many generations, but we believed it was necessary to join the galactic community. Lisa leaned forward with interest. But humans never made that choice. Exactly, Kleenak said. Humans reached the stars while still eating meat. While still being omnivores. This is something new, something the galaxy has not seen before. It challenges what we believe about civilization and progress. Carlos crossed his arms. So what happens now? Do they kick us out? There will be a hearing, Kleenak said. The Galactic Council on Species Integration has been called. They will decide if humans can continue working on multi-species stations and ships. Some council members are already calling for restrictions. They want humans to stay on Earth until you evolve beyond your carnivorous habits. That could take thousands of years, Peter said, his voice hard. Or it might never happen at all. Humans do not want to give up meat. It is part of our culture, our history, our identity. I understand, Kleenex said. That is why I came here. I want to help you. I will speak at the hearing. I will tell them what I have learned about humans. But you need to prepare your own defense. You need to explain why being omnivores does not make you dangerous. After Kleenex left, the 5 humans sat together in silence. The situation felt overwhelming. How could they convince an entire galaxy that humans deserve to be accepted? We need to gather evidence, Lisa said finally. Scientific papers about human evolution. Historical records showing that humans have lived peacefully with many different cultures, despite our varied diets. Statistics proving that humans have not been violent toward other species. We need personal stories too, Amy added. Ways to show that food is about more than just nutrition for humans. It is about family, culture, and tradition. Jake thought about his own family, his grandmother's recipes passed down through generations, the meals his mother made on special occasions, the comfort of familiar food when he was far from home. How could he explain all of that to beings who only ate plants? I think I should speak at the hearing, Jake said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. I am the one who started this. I should be the one to explain. Are you sure? Peter asked. This is a huge responsibility. Jake nodded. I am sure. Besides, I am good at explaining technical things in simple ways. If anyone can make the galaxy understand humans, maybe it is me. Lisa smiled. Then we have work to do. We need to prepare the best presentation the galaxy has ever seen. For the rest of the day and long into the night, the 5 humans worked together. They gathered information from Earth. They created charts and graphs. They wrote speeches and practiced answers to difficult questions. Jake kept thinking about his lunchbox, still sitting on the table where he had left it. Such a simple thing. Such ordinary food, but it had changed everything. Now he had to find a way to help the galaxy understand that different did not mean dangerous, that humans deserved their place among the stars, chicken sandwiches and all. The Galactic Council chamber was the most impressive place Jake had ever seen. The room was enormous, stretching hundreds of feet in every direction. Curved rows of seats rose up toward a domed ceiling that showed a perfect image of the galaxy slowly spinning above them. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, representing hundreds of different species from across known space. Jake stood alone on a raised platform in the center of the chamber. He felt very small. Around him, aliens of every shape and size watched with curious, suspicious, or hostile eyes. Some looked like insects with wings. Others resembled floating jellyfish or walking crystals. A few were so strange that Jake could not even describe them properly. Next to Jake was a large holographic display that he could control with hand gestures. Right now it showed a simple image of the human evolutionary tree, starting with early ancestors and ending with modern humans. His hands were sweating. His heart was pounding. But he tried to look calm and confident. Lisa, Amy, Carlos, and Peter sat in a special section reserved for the human delegation. They gave him encouraging looks. Jake took a deep breath and waited. The High Arbiter, a being named Corvash, called the meeting to order. Corvash was a luminari, a species made of pure energy contained inside a crystal body. His form glowed with soft amber light as he spoke. His voice came directly into Jake's mind through a neural translator that all species use to communicate. We are here to discuss a serious matter, Corvash announced. The species known as humans has been incorrectly listed in our galactic database. Their true dietary nature has recently been revealed. Human Jacob Morrison will now present evidence about his species. Jake cleared his throat. Honored members of the council, he began. My name is Jake Morrison. I am an engineer from Earth. I never thought I would be standing here today because I opened my lunchbox and ate a chicken sandwich. Some aliens in the audience made sounds that might have been laughter. Others made noises of disgust. Jake continued. I know that learning humans eat meat has been shocking to many of you. I understand that. But I am here to ask you to listen with open minds. I want to help you understand what it really means to be human. He gestured at the holographic display. It changed to show early human ancestors walking across ancient grasslands. Humans evolved on Earth about 200,000 years ago. Our planet is very diverse. It has hot deserts, frozen tundras, thick jungles, and wide grasslands. To survive in all these different places, our ancestors had to be flexible. They ate fruits when they could find them. They ate vegetables and grains. They also hunted animals and ate meat. The display showed ancient humans hunting together using simple tools. Being omnivores helped humans survive. When plant food was scarce, we could hunt. When hunting was difficult, we could gather plants. This flexibility allowed us to spread across our entire planet. We adapted to almost every environment on Earth. Jake paused and looked around the chamber. Many aliens were listening carefully now. Some still looked disgusted, but others seemed genuinely curious. Eating meat, especially cooked meat, had another important effect. It helped our brains grow larger. Meat provided concentrated protein and nutrients. Our brains needed lots of energy, and meat gave us that energy. In a way, being omnivores helped make us smart enough to eventually reach the stars. A council member spoke up. She was a Delphinian, looking like a floating jellyfish with long tentacles. You speak as if you are proud of being predators. Do you not feel shame for killing and eating other creatures? Jake chose his words carefully. I do not think humans are predators in the way you mean. We do not hunt other intelligent species. We raise animals for food and we try to treat them well. Many humans choose not to eat meat at all. We call them vegetarians or vegans. We respect their choice and they respect the choices of those who do eat meat. But you still kill to eat, another council member said. This one was tall and thin with green skin. How can that be civilized? With respect, Jake said, every species that eats organic matter participates in the cycle of life and death. When you harvest a plant, that plant dies. The difference between eating plants and eating meat is not as large as you might think. Both involve taking life to sustain our own lives. This caused murmuring throughout the chamber. Some aliens seemed to be considering his words. Others looked angry. Jake pressed on. The real question is not whether we take life to survive. The question is whether we do it responsibly and ethically. Modern humans have developed rules about how to treat animals. We work to reduce suffering. We protect endangered species. We have brought animals back from extinction. We create nature preserves where animals live free and wild. The holographic display changed to show beautiful images of Earth. There were farms where animals grazed peacefully. There were wildlife preserves with lions, elephants, and whales. There were research centers where scientists studied and protected rare species. Yes, we farm some animals for food, but we also love animals. We keep them as pets and companions. We study them with fascination. We write stories and songs about them. Our relationship with animals is complex. We are not simply predators. We are caretakers, observers, and friends to the animals on our world. Kleenex stood up in the audience. I wish to speak, he said. Korvash gave permission, and Kleenex moved to join Jake on the platform. The big Vrelian's presence was comforting. I have spent many days studying human culture, Kleenex said to the council. What I learned surprised me. My people, the Vrelians, were once carnivores. We ate meat. We were violent and aggressive. We believed that to become civilized, we had to change our very nature. We used genetic engineering to make ourselves herbivores. He turned to face the full council. But humans became civilized without changing what they are. They created art and music and science while still eating meat. They built peaceful societies. They reached the stars. Perhaps we Vrelians were wrong to think that diet determines morality. Perhaps the path to civilization is not about changing what we eat, but about choosing how we behave. This caused more discussion among the council members. Jake could hear arguments starting in multiple languages, all translated into a confusing mix of sounds. Silence, Korvash commanded. The chamber became quiet again. The High Arbiter's crystal body glowed brighter. Human Morrison, I have an important question. Can humans survive without eating meat? Jake nodded. Yes. Many humans already live their whole lives without eating any meat at all. We have the knowledge and the resources to feed everyone on Earth with only plants if we wanted to. Then why do you continue to eat meat? Korvash asked. This was the question Jake had been preparing for. Food is more than just fuel for our bodies. It is culture. It is tradition. It is connection to our past and to each other. When my mother cooks my grandmother's special recipe, she is not just making dinner. She is keeping our family history alive. She is sharing love through food. The holographic display showed images of families sharing meals together. There were images from many different human cultures, showing the incredible variety of human food traditions. Around Earth, different cultures have different food traditions. Some cultures eat very little meat. Others eat meat as a regular part of their diet. This diversity is part of what makes humanity rich and interesting. Our food tells stories about where we come from, who our ancestors were, and what we value. Jake took a breath. To ask humans to stop eating meat would be to ask us to erase parts of our cultural heritage. It would be like asking the Centaurians to stop performing their traditional dances, or asking the Altarians to stop singing their ancient songs. We should not have to give up who we are to be accepted by the galactic community. But we must have standards, a council member argued. We must have some requirements for civilized behavior. I agree, Jake said. And humans meet those standards. We do not hunt intelligent species. We have lived peacefully alongside aliens for 47 years. We have contributed to science, exploration, and cooperation throughout the galaxy. We have proven through our actions that we can be trusted. Amy stood up in the delegation section. May I speak? She asked. Korvash nodded, and she came to join Jake and Kleenak on the platform. Amy Brooks stood next to Jake and Kleenak on the platform. She looked small compared to the massive Vrelian, but her voice was strong and clear when she spoke. My name is Amy Brooks. I am a xenobiologist, which means I study how different species live and interact with each other. I have spent years learning about the aliens we share space with. One important thing I have learned is that diversity makes communities stronger. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed various alien species working together on different projects. Humans think differently than other species. Our omnivorous background gave us brains that are good at solving problems in creative ways. We can adapt to new situations quickly. We can find solutions that others might miss. These abilities have made humans valuable members of research teams, engineering crews, and diplomatic missions across the galaxy. A council member from the Solarics Collective spoke up. The Solarics were beings who lived on pure sunlight. They never ate anything at all. The human Brooks speaks of diversity, but there must be limits. Humans have a history of warfare and violence. Perhaps their carnivorous nature is connected to their violent tendencies. How can we trust such a species in our peaceful communities? Amy took a moment before responding. Jake could see she was choosing her words carefully. You are right that humanity has a troubled past, Amy said. We have fought wars. We have hurt each other and damaged our planet. But we have also learned from those mistakes. We have built international organizations to prevent conflict. We have developed technology to heal our environment. We have created art and literature that explore the moral questions of existence. She changed the holographic display to show images of human achievements. There were pictures of the United Nations building, hospitals in remote areas, schools teaching children, and scientists working together from different countries. Every species in this chamber has darkness in their history. The important question is not whether a species has made mistakes. The question is whether they can learn and grow and become better. Humans have proven that we can. Carlos Hayes stood up next and requested permission to speak. When it was granted, he joined the others on the platform. I work in life support systems, Carlos said. My job is to keep everyone alive on multi-species stations. The Centaurians need nitrogen-rich air. The Delphinians need high humidity. The Vrelians need stronger gravity than most species. I make sure all these different needs are met. He looked around the chamber. I do this without judging anyone. I do not think less of the Delphinians because they need different air than I do. I do not consider the Vrelians strange because they need heavier gravity. I simply accept that we are all different, and I work to help everyone thrive. Carlos's voice grew stronger. We are asking for the same consideration. Humans have different dietary needs than most species. That does not make us monsters. It just makes us another thread in the rich fabric of galactic civilization. If we can accept each other's differences in every other way, why can we not accept this difference too? Peter Walsh was the last human to speak. The former military commander had a commanding presence, and the chamber grew quieter when he stood. I have served in space for 10 years, Peter said. I have worked security on 3 different multi-species stations. In all that time, I have never seen a human act violently toward another species because of dietary instincts. Never. Not once. He looked directly at the council members. Our training teaches us to respect all life. Our ethics prevent us from treating other intelligent beings as prey. If anything, humans are extra careful about respecting boundaries and customs of other species. We know we are newcomers to the galactic community. We work hard to be good neighbors. The debate continued for hours. Council members from many species raised concerns and asked questions. Some were genuinely trying to understand. Others seemed determined to see humans as dangerous predators who should be restricted or expelled from space. Then something unexpected happened. A council member that Jake had not heard from before stood up. This was a Xanthari, an insect-like species with beautiful iridescent wings. The Xanthari were known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and fairness. I have listened carefully to all arguments, the Xanthari said in a voice like musical chimes. I have also reviewed humanity's record over the past 47 years. Humans have served with honor in scientific, engineering, and diplomatic roles. They have made friends with members of other species. They have contributed valuable knowledge and skills to many projects. The Xanthari's wings shimmered as they moved. The revelation about their diet is shocking, yes, but their behavior has been consistently peaceful and cooperative. I believe we should judge humans not by what they eat, but by how they act. If we condemn an entire species for their biology rather than their behavior, then we become the uncivilized ones. Many aliens in the chamber made sounds of agreement. Jake felt a spark of hope. Maybe they were getting through. Maybe the council would understand. But then a new holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It was not one that Jake or his team had prepared. A Vrelian council member named Torvek had submitted new evidence. The display showed disturbing images from Earth. There were factory farms with thousands of animals crowded together in small spaces. There were videos of hunters killing animals for sport rather than food. There were scenes from slaughterhouses where animals were processed like products on assembly lines. This is the reality of human meat consumption, Torvek said, his voice filled with disgust. While Morrison speaks of ethics and respect, his species treats living creatures as commodities. They industrialize death. They kill for entertainment. They cause suffering on massive scales. Jake felt sick looking at the images. They were real. He could not deny that. Those places existed on Earth, and they represented some of the worst aspects of how humans treated animals. You are right, Jake said quietly. The chamber fell completely silent. Everyone stared at him. Those images are real. They show some of the worst examples of human food production. He took a deep breath. But they do not represent all of humanity. They do not show the full picture. Jake gestured and the holographic display changed. Now it showed different images. Free-range farms where animals grazed in open fields. Regulations and laws protecting animal welfare. Scientists developing lab-grown meat that did not require raising animals at all. Movements of humans working to improve farming practices and reduce animal suffering. Humans are aware of these problems, Jake said. We are not perfect, but we are trying to do better. We have passed laws to protect animals. We are creating new technologies that could eliminate the need for factory farms. We are changing our society to be more ethical and compassionate. But why should we trust that this change will continue? Torvek demanded. Why should we allow a species aboard our stations when they might view us as potential food? Jake felt anger rising but forced himself to stay calm. Because in 47 years that has never happened. Because humans understand the difference between animals we raise for food and intelligent beings we live and work with. Because judging us by our worst examples rather than our typical behavior is fundamentally unfair. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens were arguing loudly. Others sat in thoughtful silence. The council members were debating among themselves, their voices creating a confusing mix of sounds and languages. Corvish had to call for silence several times before the chamber finally settled down. This council will now deliberate, the High Arbiter announced. The humans will wait in an adjacent chamber while we discuss and vote on this matter. Jake and the other humans were led to a small waiting room. The walls were soundproof, so they could not hear what was being said in the main chamber. They sat in tense silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Do you think we did enough? Jake asked after a long while. We did everything we could, Lisa said. Now we have to trust that the council will make a fair decision. But none of them felt very confident. The images that Torvek had shown were powerful and disturbing. Even though Jake had tried to provide context, he worried that those images would be what the council remembered most. Outside the waiting room, thousands of beings were deciding the fate of humanity's future in space, and Jake could do nothing but wait. The waiting felt endless. Jake and the other humans sat in the small room, watching the clock slowly move forward. Minutes felt like hours. Nobody spoke much. They were all too nervous, too worried about what the council might decide. After what seemed like forever, the door finally opened. A small robotic assistant gestured for them to return to the main chamber. Jake's heart pounded as they walked back through the corridor. His hands were shaking. This was it. The moment that would determine whether humans could continue to explore the galaxy or would be forced to stay on Earth. The chamber was still full. Thousands of alien eyes watched as Jake and his team took their positions on the central platform. The atmosphere felt heavy, tense. Jake could not read the expressions on the alien faces around him. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked angry or disgusted. Most were simply waiting. Korvash's crystal body glowed brighter as he prepared to speak. His voice filled the chamber and echoed in Jake's mind through the neural translator. This council has heard extensive testimony about the human species and their dietary practices. We have debated whether an omnivorous species can be trusted to function peacefully within our galactic community. The vote was not unanimous, but a decision has been reached. Jake held his breath. Beside him, Amy gripped his hand tightly. The Galactic Council has determined that humans will not be restricted or expelled from multi-species installations. Relief flooded through Jake like a wave. Amy squeezed his hand harder. Carlos let out a breath he had been holding. Peter's shoulders relaxed. Lisa closed her eyes and smiled. They had won. Humans would be allowed to stay. But Korvash was not finished speaking. However, the Council imposes certain conditions. First, the galactic database must be immediately corrected to accurately reflect human dietary practices. All species must be informed of this correction to prevent future misunderstandings. That seemed reasonable. Jake nodded. Second, humans serving on multi-species installations must complete cultural sensitivity training. This training will help humans understand the concerns of other species regarding dietary differences. Additionally, humans must consume meat products only in designated areas or in private quarters, at least initially, to allow other species time to adjust to this knowledge. Jake thought about this. It meant he could not eat his chicken sandwich in the main cafeteria anymore. He would have to eat in the human quarters or in special areas set aside for this purpose. It was a restriction, but not an unreasonable one. If it helped other species feel more comfortable, he could accept it. Third, Earth must submit to a review of its agricultural practices. The Council requires assurance that animals raised for food are treated according to minimum ethical standards. Earth must demonstrate efforts to reduce animal suffering and improve farming conditions. Lisa whispered to Jake. That will actually help push for better animal welfare laws on Earth. This could be a good thing. Fourth, and most importantly, Korvash continued, humanity is required to participate in a joint task force. This task force will study the relationship between biology and behavior across all sapient species. The questions raised by this situation are relevant to many species. The galaxy would benefit from a deeper understanding of how diverse beings can coexist peacefully, despite fundamental biological differences. The High Arbiter's glow softened slightly. Do the humans accept these conditions? Jake stepped forward. On behalf of humanity, we accept these conditions. We thank the Council for their wisdom and fairness. The chamber filled with sound. Some species applauded or made approving noises. Others sat in disapproving silence. A few aliens even got up and left, clearly unhappy with the decision. But the verdict stood. Humans would be allowed to remain in space. As the official proceedings ended, several council members approached the human delegation. The Zenthari delegate, who had spoken in favor of humans, came over with a small gift. You spoke well today, the Zenthari said to Jake, their wings shimmering. You reminded us that civilization is built on choices, not biology. That is an important lesson. My people learned it long ago, but it seems each generation must learn it again. Klinak also approached. The big Vrelian looked pleased. You did it, he said, his deep voice warm with friendship. You made them understand. We could not have done it without your help, Jake said gratefully. Thank you for speaking on our behalf. I spoke the truth, Klinak replied. And sometimes the truth is enough. Over the next few days, life on Horizon 1 slowly began to return to normal. The initial shock and fear began to fade. Humans were given a designated dining area, where they could eat their meals without disturbing other species. It was smaller than the main cafeteria, but comfortable enough. Jake noticed that the atmosphere on the station was different now. Some aliens still avoided humans, clearly uncomfortable with the knowledge that they ate meat, but others seemed curious rather than afraid. They asked questions about Earth foods and human culture. They wanted to understand rather than judge. One day, Jake was eating lunch in the human dining area when he noticed Vixrel standing at the entrance. The Centaurian looked nervous but determined. She slowly approached his table. "May I sit with you?" she asked. "Of course," Jake said, surprised but pleased. Vixrel settled into a chair across from him. Her forearms moved gracefully as she arranged her own lunch, which consisted of colorful fruits and vegetables. "I have been reading about human culture," she said. "I have been learning about your foods and traditions." "That is very kind of you," Jake said. "I do not understand the appeal of meat," Vixrel admitted. "I cannot imagine eating it myself, but I am trying to understand why it is important to your people." Jake looked down at his sandwich. "It was turkey this time with lettuce and tomato. Would you like me to explain?" "Yes, please." "This sandwich reminds me of my grandfather," Jake began. "He used to make these for me when I was young. He had a special way of preparing the turkey, certain vegetables he always included, a specific type of bread he preferred. When I eat this sandwich, I remember him. He died 5 years ago, but every time I taste these flavors, I feel close to him again." Vixrel was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "We Centaurians have similar traditions. There is a particular dish made from fungi and spices that reminds me of my childhood. When I eat it, I remember my family nest, my parents, the feeling of being home and safe." "Exactly," Jake said with a smile. "Food is more than just nutrition. It is memory and emotion and connection." "I had not thought of your meat foods that way," Vixrel said. "I only saw the death involved. But now I understand there is more to it. There is life and love and family in your food, just as there is in mine." They ate together in comfortable silence for a while. It was not awkward. It felt like friendship beginning to grow. In the following weeks, more small changes happened on Horizon 1. A few brave aliens tried sitting in the human dining area, not to eat human food but simply to share the space. Conversations started. Friendships formed. The fear was gradually being replaced by understanding. Jake was asked to join the joint task force that the Council had mandated. Scientists from dozens of species gathered to study how different biological needs could coexist in a diverse community. Jake shared information about human evolution, culture, and ethics. He learned about how other species had dealt with similar challenges in their own histories. The task force became one of the most important projects in the galaxy. It helped create guidelines for accepting new species into the galactic community. It developed training programs to help different species understand each other better. It proved that diversity could be a strength rather than a problem. One evening, several months after the hearing, Jake stood in the observation deck of Horizon 1. He was looking out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. Amy came to join him carrying 2 drinks. "Thinking about the hearing?" she asked, handing him a cup. "Thinking about how much can change because of one lunch," Jake said. "I never imagined that eating a chicken sandwich could almost end humanity's presence in space." "But it did not end it," Amy pointed out. "In the end, we were judged by who we are, not by what we eat." "That is what matters. Do you think the acceptance will last?" Jake asked. "Will there always be species that hate us for eating meat?" Amy considered this. "Probably. Some species will always be uncomfortable with humans, but I think most will come to accept us over time. We have proven that we can be trusted. We have shown that eating meat does not make us dangerous or uncivilized. Those lessons will spread." Jake raised his cup. "To being different." Amy touched her cup to his. "And to being accepted anyway." Through the observation window, Jake could see Earth in the distance. It was a small blue dot from this far away, but it was home. On that planet, billions of humans were living their lives. They were eating their varied diets, celebrating their diverse cultures, and dreaming of exploring the universe. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Biology did not determine morality. What species ate did not define their character. Civilization was built on choices and actions, not on dietary preferences. Somewhere in the vast galactic database, a new entry had been written. This one was accurate. It explained that humans were omnivores who ate both plants and meat.